Kusangpa, and a very warm welcome to Bhutan This Week, our weekly news magazine program. I'm Tandon Finso. Our top stories this week: His Majesty the King and Her Majesty the Gulsin received a group of school children who recited Lole at the Royal Linkana Palace yesterday. The chairperson of the Pay Commission says it is difficult to come up with recommendations for salary revision amid the current economic situation. And Prime Minister Singh Topge says he issued no circular to the MOIC suggesting cutting down of government advertisements. His Majesty the King and Her Majesty the Gulsin received a group of school children who recited Lole at the Royal Linkana Palace to commemorate the beginning of the new year yesterday. Their Majesties granted Sera to the students. Nilo is celebrated as the new year, especially by the people of Wong Sochingge. In the olden days, children used to go to every household singing Lole. In return, the owner would give money, rice, meat and other edible items to the children. Children would take everything they have collected and go for a picnic the next day. Considering the country's current economy and fiscal situation, the Pay Commission says it is difficult to come up with recommendations for salary revision of the civil servants. The chairperson of the commission, Dr. Cheong Rinzin, said, while everyone is expecting a salary raise, they have to look at the provisions of the constitution which ensure that current expenditure have to be met from domestic revenues.
The fiscal situation of the country is not very good at the present time. The private sector is going through a very difficult time. There are no loans available. The government itself has not sufficient financing available to take up most of the government projects. And the government has recently issued a number of directives on austerity measures to cut down expenditure so that they can make ends meet. And given these conditions, of course, it's going to be difficult for the Pay Commission to come up with its recommendations, but definitely we will try to work within, of course, the overall constitutional provisions to ensure that we can make both ends sort of happy, I suppose, at the end of the day. But it's going to be a very, very difficult task for the 7-member commission to come up with a realistic recommendation given the present fiscal situation of the country.
Before coming up with recommendations, the Pay Commission is studying the government's current expenditures, total revenues, among others. The members of the Pay Commission have met 6 times since the formation on 13th November. They will have to submit their recommendations to the government by the end of 3 months.
We have talked to especially the Finance Ministry and a few other departments of the Royal Government of Bhutan, and we have tried to understand as to what has been the trend of the revenues to the Royal Government of Bhutan over the last decade or so. We are also trying to understand what is the expectation of the government in terms of domestic revenues over the next 5 years, that is within the 11th 5-year plan. We are also looking at the trend of expenditure that the government has been incurring, current expenditure over the last decade. And then we are looking at the current expenditure that is expected to be incurred over the next 5 years, that is within the 11th 5-year plan. After considering whether the domestic revenues and current expenditures that are projected are realistic and seeing if there's any fiscal space within which we can operate, then after that only we will look at our recommendations.
At the Meet the Press session recently, Prime Minister Singh Topge said there is the need to carefully study advertising as a source of finance for media houses.
In terms of the media, advertisements is primarily to get the message across. And we need to relook at the whole thing very carefully as to whether the purpose of advertisement is to finance media houses. If it is, there must be more elegant ways of doing it. This needs to be relooked at. What the policies of advertisement are. We have not looked at it.
Lynchen also clarified that he has not issued a circular to the Ministry of Information and Communications to reduce advertising money to media houses as part of PDP's austerity measures.
I haven't sent a circular. It may have come from the Finance Ministry if there was one. And if there was one and the reason was austerity, it probably meant that there wasn't enough money. But I can't answer it because I don't know about it.
Lynchen also said that besides formulating rules and regulations, he is not too sure how else the government could help in the development of media.
But I don't know to what extent the government should be involved in the development of the media. Besides making rules and regulations and ensuring and doing our best to ensure a level playing field otherwise, but on the other hand, excessive intervention is not healthy, especially in the realm of media.
But Lynchen said the government will intervene if the media situation takes a turn for the worse. Bimal Hardin, BBS News.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Singh Tobgay said the government needs to discuss the affordability of the 5% tax imposed as property transfer tax while transferring vehicle ownership. Lynchen shared this at the Meet the Press session on the 27th of last month.
Many people have been complaining that the 5% tax imposed as property transfer tax for vehicles is very high. When asked to react, Lynchen said,
So this is a case of a regulatory agency doing their job. I don't know whether the fees are too high or not. I don't know. Because I haven't even discussed it. I don't know. But I do know it is clearly a sign that agencies was not doing the job in the past. So the job needs to be done. Should it be done all in one go? I don't know. Having left unattended for many years, should it be done in one go? I don't know. But this is something that our rules required. But obviously everybody ignored it. And if it is too much, then we will amend it. If it is too little, we will amend it.
The Home and Cultural Affairs Minister added that there is a huge group who evades this 5% tax.
It's just that there are also a huge group of people who don't just transfer this. And most of these cases come under the quota system because the quota is given to civil servants and they sell it to somebody else. So they cannot change ownership until it is 7 years old. And if they change the ownership within that period, then you have to pay the full tax. So that's the whole problem. I think there's also a slight misunderstanding. People think that even if my daughter drives my car, then she has to produce a registration name. Otherwise, she can't drive. Something is not like that. It only applies to people who have legally bought and purchased. There has been a legal agreement. The money has been paid, but the registration has not been changed. This is simply you're violating your, circumventing the law.
Lempo Damchudoji also pointed out that there are many vehicles outside Bhutan that are still registered as being in the country. He said this needs to be cleared as well.
Other serious problem is, especially when you sell it outside the country. So the vehicle is physically already sold and is outside the country, but in the registration is still in Bhutan. A lot of vehicles, so many cars, so many trucks have been sold outside, but they still in the name of the business owners. So I think it is time that we clear out these things, and it's not fair, obviously, if some people are paying 5% and getting that registration, some people are just doing it pending like that. So somewhere, sometime we have to straighten things out.
The need to transfer vehicle ownership is in line with the Road Safety and Transport Authority Regulation 1999. According to the regulation, the seller will have to transfer ownership to the buyer within a period of 15 days. Sonam Lhamo for PBS News.
The government is planning to send Bhutanese abroad on overseas employment scheme by this month. This was shared by the Labour Minister at Meet the Press session. The Minister also mentioned that the government has shortlisted 7 applicants to operate overseas employment agents. These agents will negotiate on job opportunities offered by a host of countries, which are Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Singapore, Japan, Thailand and India.
7 applicants have been shortlisted, and we are going to issue our clearance by the end of this month, and by January we are looking forward to send people abroad through them. And also we have another scheme now where there is no agent in any country. We are trying to send by ourselves. We are looking into skills development program. Now, when it means overseas employment, it also means that skills development is very important.
The Gilfu Domestic Airport, inaugurated over a year ago, is still not fully operational. Several infrastructure at the airport are still being worked on. The Information and Communications Minister visited the airport to inspect the progress of the ongoing works.
The Gilfu Domestic Airport was inaugurated in October last year. So far, the airport has seen only a few chartered flights. The infrastructures are still not completely in place.
These are works on fencing, perimeter fencing, the airstrips, drainage on either sides of the runway, then channelizing and riverbank protections of the two kholas, the Aipoli Sanu and Aipoli Tulo. These are going on, and we expect grading also on either side of the runway. These are going on. We expect this contract to be completed sometime in February.
The Information and Communications Minister who visited the airport expressed concerns over the streams near the airport that poses threat during monsoon.
Coming at the site out here, I could make out that it can be mitigated. It is already taken care of. Of course, a little bit of extra effort is required. From human effort, from the effort given by Dzongkhag authorities, from Dongkhag authorities, and from the ministry or from Department of Civil Aviation, I am confident that we will be able to mitigate that. But having said it, I will not be able to guarantee, because I will not be able to predict the summer as to how it will be.
The minister said any possible threats should not be overlooked, especially because Gilfu Airport has more potential than the domestic airports in Bhutan and Tashigang. The Department of Civil Aviation said there are other works in pipeline, such as the construction of terminal. The Civil Aviation's Director General said they are waiting for funds to go ahead with the terminal construction. Ishwari Gurung, BBS News, Gilfu.
The Education Ministry has been asked to pay more than 800,000 nultram to a contractor for breaching the contract terms. The Tashigang District Court passed the verdict on 26th of last month. Initially, the Wamrong Dungha Court, where the case was first registered, asked the ministry to pay more than 3.9 million nultram to the contractor.
Yu Wangchuk Construction filed a court case against the Education Ministry for terminating a contract awarded to him. He won the contract to construct the academic block and IT building for the National Institute for Visually Impaired in Kaling. After the Anti-Corruption Commission suspended the license of Yu Wangchuk Construction, the ministry terminated the contract before the construction work could begin. The contractor then filed a court case in Wamrong Dungha Court against the ministry for breach of contract terms. The Wamrong Dungha Court accordingly passed a verdict on 29th July this year, favoring Yu Wangchuk Construction. The Education Ministry was asked to pay more than 3.9 million nultram to the contractor. The ministry, not satisfied with the Dungkhag's court verdict, appealed to the Dzongkhag Court in Tashigang. Changing the Dungkhag Court's verdict, the Tashigang Dzongkhag Court passed its verdict. According to the Dzongkhag Court's verdict, the ministry now has to pay little over 800,000 nultram. The verdict says the ministry has to pay the money to the contractor within 30 days from the date the verdict was passed. The ministry says they have not yet decided whether to appeal to higher court or pay the contractor. BBS could not contact the contractor for his comments. Both the parties have 10 working days to appeal to the High Court. The court case has delayed the construction of the school building, causing inconvenience to the students and staff of the National Institute for Visually Impaired in Kaling. Pemadamge, BBS News, Kanglung.
With the onset of the 11th five-year plan, Bumthang Dzongkhag wants to ensure that all relevant Dzongkhag and Gyok staff are made aware of changes, especially with regard to procurement rules. The Dzongkhag found that a major problem during the implementation of the 10th five-year plan was with the procurement of goods.
A 4-day refresher course was organized this week in Bumthang on quotations, handling of samples, comparative statements, supply orders and maintaining stock, among others. The opening and rejection of tenders, evaluation, acceptance, work order and agreements were also covered. The procurement rules and regulation 2009 have been distributed to the Dzongkhag and Gyok tender committees as well.
거룩지 배대배로 대라게 된도지 배대배로 내가 자라 샤샤브라 hin상습에 여버진 내가 제 디텔러라 됐다 디세칼로 된도
To ensure proper procurement of goods and services and uniformity in procurement procedures in all the Dzongkhaks, the tender committees must be familiar with procurement rules. It is also important to know the rules to avoid mistakes and confusion during auditing.
Bumtang's Gyeok and Dzongkhak tender committees have shared that they are confident about implementing activities under the 11th five-year plan without lapses following the refresher course. Compiled for Komal Kharka in Bumtang, Pemal Hatten, BBS News.
Waste is becoming a problem even in Jamgang. People complain about the lack of a proper waste system, while municipal authorities share that residents do not feel that waste management is also their responsibility.
Rubbish is everywhere, behind the houses, in the drains and on the stairs. Neither landlords nor the tenants clean their area. The belief is that there should be a proper waste disposal site that should be identified by the Dzongkhak's municipal office and also proper implementation of waste management regulations. The current arrangement in Shemgang town sees a tractor collecting waste twice a week. Residents say there is a need for daily service. Municipal officials, however, told BBS that it is not only their responsibility to keep the town clean, but also the residents. The officials also maintained that they have already carried out awareness programs on the Waste Prevention and Management Regulation 2009. They add that residents will now be penalized if they do not follow the rules. Compiled for Pema Samdup, Sonam Hamo for BBS News.
Upon the command of His Majesty the King, a month-long winter youth engagement program for the 6 Eastern Dzongkhaks began on 30th of December in Gelpushing in Monga. The program is aimed to engage girls in meaningful activities during the winter vacation.
These young girls are the ones who normally work during winter breaks to support their education. Some work at construction sites, while some seek temporary jobs in various offices. And that is the time where young girls often are the victims of sexual abuse and teenage pregnancy. This program was organized to prevent them from getting victimized. Some are attending the camp for the first time. During the month-long program, they will be engaged in academic activities and counseling on various issues. They will also go through life skill education for their personality development. Meanwhile, participants express gratitude to His Majesty the King for the noble initiative. Over 400 girls from the 6 Eastern Dzongkhaks are taking part in the program. The program was inaugurated by the Minister of Agriculture and Forest, Ishidoji. It is being organized by the Department of Youth and Sports under the Ministry of Education. Compiled for Kingatashi, Kinzang Yishi for BBS News.
A food processing plant in Goling in Jamgang is working wonders for the people of Tong and Nangkor Gyeoks. The plant has provided farmers a market for their farm produce.
The food processing unit in Goling was established in 2008 with support from the National Post-Harvest Center. It was initially run by a farmers' cooperative. Things did not go so well. There was not enough money to run the plant. Inadequate fruit supply was another hiccup. Just when the farmers thought it was over, the Bhutan Agro and Industry came to its rescue. It took over the management of the food processing unit in collaboration with the National Post-Harvest Center.
We make pickles out of bamboo shoot. We also make banana and potato chips. We have also equipment to make dried vegetables and fruits.
Dehydrated products like sak disu, chise disu kaikom, shinde disu, mado disu kaikom sushino.
Farmers supply fruits, including oranges and bananas. It has helped farmers earn cash.
They take in bamboo shoots, ginger and bananas as well in whatever quantity we have.
The food processing unit is benefiting the people of Trong and Nangkor Gyok. Goling, where the food processing unit is located, is 50 kilometers away from Jemgang town towards Gongpu. Compiled for Pema Samdup in Jemgang, Tenzin Rapki, PBS News.
That's all we have for you this week. Thank you for joining us. Keep yourself warm. This is Tandin Finso saying goodbye.